40 years prior, another superstar had a commercial for Christmas Day.
Think Air Jordan this season. By Nike.
Now, as you know, the Caitlin Clark commercial aired during the football games on Netflix, aired during the basketball games on ESPN, ABC. The Nike commercial came at the perfect time as far as Christmas release goes. All the past commercials they've dropped over the last 5 to 10 years, this Caitlin Clark From Anywhere campaign seems to be the most creative that Nike has been.
Exactly 40 years later, down to the same date, December 25th, 1985. Nike releases Michael Jordan's first Christmas commercial. It introduces the Air Jordan 1 and quietly reshapes sports culture forever. Fast forward to Chicago, December 25th, 2024. Nike drops the Caitlin Clark From Anywhere campaign. The symmetry isn't subtle, and it isn't accidental. Nike doesn't choose dates like this by coincidence. But there's another layer most people missed, because Caitlin Clark wasn't the only Nike athlete to get a commercial this year. And when you put the two spots side by side, the difference is impossible to ignore. Let's slow it down. Ija Wilson's ad leans on a familiar nursery rhyme. A few words are tweaked, her name gets repeated, the reference is the concept, and once it lands, there's nowhere else for it to go. It begins, delivers the idea, and ends. Clean, simple, minimal. Now compare that to Caitlin Clark's commercial. The cast alone tells a story. Travis Kelce appears. Jason Kelce shows up. Travis Scott makes an entrance. Michael Che from Saturday Night Live is there. Lisa Bluter, her college coach, appears alongside Stephanie White, her current coach. Every layer connects to a different chapter of her journey, and then there are the details. Subtle callbacks woven throughout the scene, nods to her AAU roots with the Iowa Attack, references to her past teams, even boys wearing Attack jerseys in the background. None of it is random, even the opening shot matters. The commercial starts in a driveway, not for aesthetics, but because that's where Caitlin Clark put in the hours as a kid. That driveway is the origin point, the foundation. One of these commercials feels like a surface level idea executed quickly. The other feels like a deep, intentional narrative built by people who studied every frame of her story. Now think about what it takes to make that second spot happen. An entire residential block shut down. Nike vans lined along the street. Lighting rigs, camera crews, production teams everywhere. And at the center of it all, one of the biggest stars in women's basketball, standing in the same driveway where it all began. Just a couple houses away, families are eating breakfast, cars are parked, kids are inside watching TV. And suddenly, the entire neighborhood feels different. Neighbors peek through their blinds, trying to make sense of it all. Caitlin Clark in a driveway, surrounded by cameras, lights, and a full Nike production crew. That doesn't happen by chance. That level of effort doesn't come from a rushed decision. It sends a signal. Nike isn't just making commercials, they're making a statement about who gets the full legacy level treatment and who doesn't.
Now what I want to show you here is A'ja Wilson's commercial, and I'm going to play Caitlin Clark's commercial right after that, just to show you the difference between the two. Let's take a look. Right? All Nike did for that is just take a song everybody knows and just put in new words. No creativity involved at all. They're just going to take a song that everybody knows, patty cake, whatever the fuck song that is, and they're just going to change some words and put A'ja Wilson in there, okay? And then we have Caitlin Clark's commercial.
Hey, Caitlin! Can you make it from there?
Because the gap is real and it's impossible to ignore. One athlete gets the "let's wrap this up before lunch" treatment. The other gets an entire neighborhood shut down, a carefully curated cast, and a long-term brand story built around her name. That contrast matters more than most people are willing to admit. From Anywhere isn't just a slogan flashed on the screen. It's the spine of the entire campaign. Simple, memorable, instantly repeatable. You can already see it spreading online. People recreating the idea from parking lots, sidewalks, gyms, and driveways, all feeding into the same question. Can you hit it from here, from there, from anywhere? That idea taps directly into what separates Caitlin Clark from the rest. Her range, her fearlessness, her comfort launching shots from spots no one else even thinks about attempting. The concept fits her game perfectly because it's already how people see her. Now apply that same lens to the Aja Wilson commercial. What's the takeaway? What line sticks with you once it's over? What's the phrase people are supposed to carry forward? There really isn't one. It's Aja Wilson playing basketball while a well-known nursery rhyme gets lightly reworked. That's it. There's no larger campaign built around it. No idea designed to live beyond the ad. No cultural hook meant to travel once the screen goes dark. And that's where the timing becomes impossible to ignore. Caitlin Clark's commercial premieres on Christmas Day 2024, exactly 40 years after Nike aired Michael Jordan's first Christmas commercial in 1985. That original ad featured Jordan in Chicago wearing the Air Jordan 1 with Santa Claus rocking the iconic black and red colorway that would go on to define an era. That moment sparked the most successful signature shoe line in sports history. Nike is drawing a straight, deliberate line from that history to Caitlin Clark. The date is chosen on purpose. The symbolism is intentional, and the message couldn't be clearer. They're showing you exactly how they view her value, her reach, and her role in the future of the brand.
Hey, Caitlin, how about from here?
Come on, guys.
She can't make it. No chance.
Caitlin, from me to left. You got it.
I'm not even gonna ask.
Hey, Caitlin from here might be impressive. Am I right?
Whatever, Chet.
From right here.
From there.
From anywhere.
Now, if you can tell that one of these commercials actually took thought, planning, and the other one just took, let's just slap this together because she threw a fit about her shoe not coming out in time. Let's just throw this shit together and push it out there. I don't know what to tell you.
But there's one complication that changes how all of this lands. The commercial works. The reaction is strong. The conversation online is accelerating exactly the way Nike hoped it would. By every engagement metric, the campaign is doing its job. And yet, there's no signature shoe attached to it. There's no product waiting on shelves for fans who want to buy into the moment right now. What we're watching is a full-scale cultural push rolling out in late December, with excitement peaking and nothing tangible for people to grab onto. The Caitlin Clark signature shoe isn't expected to arrive until late April or early May of 2025. That creates a 4 to 5 month gap between igniting massive demand and actually delivering the product. Nike did release some accompanying merchandise, so it wasn't a complete miss. Still, the absence is obvious. Christmas came and went with hype turned all the way up and no signature shoe available, which is where the real revenue lives. Now zoom out, because this is where the creative side really matters. The Caitlin Clark commercial doesn't just look expensive or polished. It feels different in a way Nike hasn't consistently hit in years. For the better part of a decade, the formula has stayed the same. Elite athlete, slow motion action, emotional music, swoosh, fade out. This campaign breaks that pattern without forcing it. There's humor woven throughout. The cameos aren't there just to chase attention. Travis Kelce and Jason Kelce make sense because Caitlin Clark has real history with them, including appearances on their podcast. Michael Che works because she's already stood on the Saturday Night Live stage herself. None of it feels random. None of it feels checked off a list. That's the difference between something that looks creative and something that actually is creative. The story feels lived in. Every appearance adds meaning instead of clutter. That level of intention has been missing from a lot of Nike's recent work. Now put that next to the Aja Wilson commercial. The idea starts and stops with swapping words in a nursery rhyme everyone already knows. There's no second layer, no broader message, no campaign structure built to extend beyond the ad itself. That isn't innovation. That's what happens when a deadline is approaching and the brainstorm ends early. This isn't a critique of Aja Wilson as a player. Her resume is untouchable. Multiple MVPs, a champion, one of the most dominant forces the league has ever seen. This is about creative investment. One campaign is designed to live, travel, and shape culture. The other runs once and fades away. That contrast says more than any press release ever could. At its core, this comes down to where effort and resources are placed. One athlete received a full-scale rollout. The other received just enough to say a commercial existed. That distinction matters because it reveals how the brand truly assigns value, regardless of what the public statements say. You can publish endless messaging about supporting women's sports and growing the game, but commercials don't lie. lie. Production scale doesn't lie. Budget choices don't lie. The Caitlin Clark campaign required months of planning, location scouting to find a driveway that aligned with her story, coordinating schedules with multiple high-profile figures, building a concept from the ground up that felt original, shareable, and strong enough to exist beyond a single airing. That doesn't happen by accident. That's the same type of long-term creative commitment Nike once made with Michael Jordan. It's the signal that says this athlete is expected to help define the brand for the next decade. Everything about the execution points in that direction. Now compare that with what Aja Wilson received. Her commercial looks like something that could be completed in a week. Take a familiar rhyme, film basketball footage, combine the two, release it. That's the kind of project you do when the goal is to check a box, not when the goal is to create something lasting. Here's the uncomfortable part. Aja Wilson had every reason to be frustrated with her signature shoe timeline. She's been open about wanting that rollout handled correctly, and she earned that expectation. She's a multi-time MVP, a champion, and one of the most dominant players of her era. But Nike's response wasn't to match the level of creative care given to Caitlin Clark. Instead, it feels like a rushed solution meant to calm the moment rather than elevate the athlete. That difference has nothing to do with talent. It comes from where the brand chooses to invest. Caitlin Clark's commercial didn't quietly appear. It aired during NFL games, streaming on Netflix and NBA broadcasts on ESPN. Maximum exposure by design. Add in the Christmas Day release and the deliberate 40-year callback to Michael Jordan, and this stops being about scheduling altogether. It becomes about signaling. This is Nike making its priorities visible. They're signaling who they believe will carry their business into the next era, and that choice extends far beyond a single commercial. Look at what this means for the future of WNBA marketing. If Nike is willing to show this level of separation between two of the league's biggest stars in public, every other brand is watching closely, and so are the athletes. The takeaway is straightforward. Market value drives creative investment, and creative investment determines cultural influence. The From Anywhere campaign is already taking off. People are recreating it across TikTok. The phrase is sticking. That doesn't happen when an ad is treated as filler. It happens when a company commits fully to an idea and lets it live beyond the screen. This was never about checking the box on a 30-second spot. It was about building a concept people want to participate in. That's how culture is created, not through obligations, but through ideas that invite the audience in. Nike understands this better than most. They're not a charity, they're a business. They invest where they expect returns. The Caitlin Clark commercial cost more. It demanded longer planning, heavier coordination, and greater creative risk. Nike made that decision because they believe she can sell at a level that justifies it. On the other side, the Aja Wilson commercial required less time, less risk, and delivered less cultural impact. That's not personal. It's a business calculation based on projected revenue. But this is where Nike creates a problem for itself. By making that gap so visible, they open themselves up to scrutiny. You can't publicly claim equal commitment to all WNBA athletes while presenting such a stark difference in creative priority. Once people see that contrast, the messaging stops mattering. Actions take over. When two commercials feel like they came from completely different companies, it becomes difficult to argue full investment in growing women's basketball. The optics are rough, even if the internal math makes sense. Placing most of the weight behind one athlete sends a message whether Nike intends it or not, and that message doesn't disappear once the ads stop running. Caitlin Clark's signature shoe is expected to launch in late April or early May of 2025. That means roughly 5 months of demand building off this campaign alone. If Nike executes flawlessly, that gap could turn into a massive release moment. Still, there's no avoiding the reality that money was left on the table by missing the Christmas window. Even more importantly, Nike has now created a benchmark. Every future WNBA commercial they release will be measured against this one. Once people notice the difference, they can't unsee it. Every rollout, every creative shortcut, every lack of effort will stand out. That's a long-term consequence, not a short headline. This also explains the scale of the gamble Nike is taking. Michael Jordan's first Christmas commercial in 1985 launched a 4-decade run that reshaped the company entirely. The Air Jordan brand now generates billions every year. That's the historical weight behind choosing that exact date for Caitlin Clark's campaign. 40 years later, Nike is signaling that they believe she could be the next athlete capable of shifting the brand's trajectory in a meaningful way. That's an enormous bet. Time will decide whether whether it pays off. What's already clear is how Nike sees the landscape right now. When these two commercials sit side by side, there's no confusion about who received the full creative push. That imbalance isn't just a marketing detail, it's something that will shape how fans, athletes, and brands talk about WNBA promotion for years. The real question is whether this strategy is the right one. Is it smart to go all in on one projected superstar while giving others the bare minimum? Or should creative effort be evenly distributed, regardless of market forecasts? This is how the story ends, and it isn't subtle. Nike didn't reveal its thinking through interviews or press statements. They showed it through action, through budget, through creative priority. When a brand creates this much separation between two top athletes in the same league, it tells you exactly how decisions are made behind closed doors. This was never about talent. Both players have earned their respect on the court. This was about projection, about who Nike believes can move product, dominate attention, and carry a brand narrative into the next decade. One athlete was positioned as a long-term pillar. The other was treated like an obligation that needed to be fulfilled. That choice will echo. Every future WNBA campaign will be viewed through this lens. Every rollout will be compared. Every lack of effort will be noticed. Once fans see the difference in creative care, it permanently changes how they interpret everything that follows. Nike could win big if this bet hits. If the Caitlin Clark shoe launches and sells at the level they're expecting, the strategy will be framed as smart business. But if it falls short, Nike will be left explaining why it publicly created such a visible hierarchy within its own roster. Either way, the conversation has shifted. Fans are paying closer attention, athletes are watching how value is assigned, and people are learning how branding decisions actually work behind the scenes. That awareness doesn't fade. If you want to stay ahead of where sports, money, and power really intersect, this is the kind of story you need to be following closely. Watch the details, track the decisions, and if you want more breakdowns like this, stay locked in with Courtside Leaks, where the real plays happen off the court. Like the video, subscribe, drop a comment, and share it. Courtside Leaks, your home for what they don't show you in the headlines.